Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cork in the North this week. Thank you so much. This week's special guest is we have BBC sketch writer, comedian, podcaster. We've got the amazing Paddy Raff has come on. First time ever coming on the podcast. I met Paddy a few times doing some gigs around Belfast. Paddy, you're actually next to me. What's the name of the podcast?
I know, as if I'm not here. The Wonder Year podcast. Check
Paddy has a podcast called the Wonder Year Podcast. Check it out on YouTube, Spotify, all the places. Paddy's Instagram and stuff like that. Also to remind you that Paddy is on tour this year as well, and I am also on tour. So you can come and see both of us. We're not on the same nights in the same venues. You can come and see both of us. You don't have to pick a favourite. But this is a good episode with Paddy on Cork in the North. So thanks very much for listening, liking, sharing and subscribing. Hope you enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cork in the North. This week, first time ever on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, is the man, the sketch show. You would have seen him on BBC shows, the Paddy Raff show, stand-up shows across the North and London as well, and travels around. It's Paddy Raff, ladies and gentlemen.
How you doing?
Paddy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, yeah. Do you want to move this closer? Am I too far away?
No, I think you're fine. Yeah, just deep throat it, mate. Yeah, just something you do on a weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not even on.
So, Paddy, we met for the first time at the Empire Comedy Club. Because I know you, obviously, from the sketch show.
Yeah.
Paddy Raff sketch show. Very successful sketch show.
Yeah.
You've another series coming up, is it? How is that working?
If I have the time. It's like the way that...
Oh, excuse me, Paddy.
Because the thing is, right, the first two were made during the pandemic, and I didn't realise if you're going to make like 5 episodes or something, it takes 6 months. Like from...
Yeah.
So I'd be writing July, August, September, you film 2 months, then you're editing, and it's out towards the end of the year. But I have a tour coming up. Get tickets to the tour. But so like I can't do it when sort of would like to do it with them. So
because of the pandemic, you weren't touring.
No,
so you had the time.
I was literally able just to focus on that one thing. So it kind of ran away with me where I can't do it at the same pace I was going to do it.
So what do you do? Just like franchise the writing out.
I'd love to be able to
do you just turn around and go, right, you guys, write me sketches?
Yeah. Put them in a room.
Yeah, put them in a room.
Typewriters.
Did you do every word yourself?
Yeah.
So you don't have like somebody that comes out. So let me just get it right. So you're writing. So your sketch, say for example, I watched your last series. So you the air hostess.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that, right? Do you sit down and go, right, every single word, every single joke on a piece of paper, you send it into the BBC, they go, yeah, you're happy with that, happy with that, happy with that.
Yeah.
Do you not have somebody...
happy with that, they go, not happy with that.
You can't, we're going to be sued for that, we're going to be sued for that. Can you not sit back, do you not have somebody sitting next to you and go, Paddy, why don't you use this line instead? Why don't you use that line instead? Or do you not work with somebody? Is it just you?
No, it's just me. And the way... So we don't have like a script editor or anything like that. I would write all the scripts, like all, and I kind of like to do it character by character because it's hard to kind of jump between them.
Yeah.
So I'll spend like a week or 2 weeks doing, the Nigel ones. Then if I get the bit of brick wall, move on to Caroline or whatever. And once I've done them, there's like usually a date that the BBC want them in by, and I'll send them off to them and they'll give notes. Sorry, but before that, yes, the director, Jason Byrne, has done like Bridget Neyman down south and stuff for Republic of Telly. He's really good. Sometimes I'll send him some of the stuff and he'll go, why don't we have this bit come in earlier? And you go, aye, all right. But like in terms of actual lines and whatever, Jason might suggest something. He might go, do you know it'd be funnier actually if I did it this way? And you go, oh yeah. So it's kind of like, we call it like jazz TV. And the rest of the crew hate it because it's like, we haven't fucking set up for that,
Yeah.
But would you kind of chop and change on the day? But no, like...
Because you can improvise on the day as well. You're in a zone, you're in a feeling,
And usually the best thing about filming is that the first time I've ever done it for somebody, and it's almost like going out and doing a stand-up bit, is on set. So I've got like a sketch, I'm like, I'm not too sure this works. And you get there and you know when the first joke's coming, you could be fucking filming, and you get to that joke and you're like, I hope people laugh here, and then all the crew laugh and they have to cut and go, yes. But there's sometimes where the crew are then behaving and you get the whole way through it and go, nobody laughed there, and then you get to the end and they say cut, and you're like, would you have laughed at any stage during that? They're like, oh yeah, there was this, like, thank fuck, because you just literally it's so insular, it's so different than stand-up.
Oh, there's no reaction.
No, there's nothing. I mean, even a bad reaction leaves you go, oh, like, well, at least the punchline was met with something. But when you're filming, it's like, what was that?
That's quite daunting to do comedy and get nothing. In terms of I'm writing these sketches, I'm performing them to the best that I can, and I'm not hearing a laugh back. And then people are saying, oh, that's really good. And you're like, is that shit? Because like when I'm on stage, I get told straight away. So you just have to adjust. It's a different skill set, isn't it? And you have to manage your mind as well to accept that silence sometimes. You have to trust that when this goes on the telly, that the people at home are getting it.
Exactly. And that was one of the things that I sort of learned doing the the pilot episode, which was like sort of July 2020. So it was like full lockdown. You couldn't test anything out. And it was, the thing was, the producer was like, see anything that's worked on stage, it'll work on TV. So I started going back going, well, what have I done? What jokes have I done? And it took sort of wee bits and pieces out of stand-up that I'd done and put that into the sketches. And then sure enough, like those were the things that people would then comment on or sort of keep sharing online. And it was an epiphany for me, but maybe other people had realised that before. It's like, if it works in a room with like sort of, and that's the hardest test for it. If it works in a room with people, it's going to work on TV. So that's what and then when you're writing new stuff, you have to kind of write it to that standard where you go to yourself, would I get up and say this on stage? You know, if this was a line and if you were telling this story about, you know, Carolyn or whatever, and you say it and this happened, would people laugh at that? And that's the way you kind of have to train your mind.
That's a good standard to write. Like sometimes what I do it is I only tend to write about comedy that I have experienced or witnessed.
Yeah.
So for example, I don't do any jokes about transgender issues because I don't know, right? So I only talk about what I haven't gone through the procedure yet. It's been delayed because of the lack of government here.
Pandemic.
Unbelievable. The DUP, you're stopping me from having my balls cut off. All right, Edwin Poots.
Then the material's going to write itself.
All right, Edwin Poots. Sort your life out. Michelle O'Neill wants it. You don't. So that's the way I live my life. I'm not going to start, oh, yeah, let me talk to you about trans. No, it's not my... I can't... What's my opinion on something I don't experience? So that's the way I work. And you work that way. My sketch characters, if this is not going to be put on a sketch show unless I would say it on stage. I think that's a great rule of thumb to have, isn't it?
You kind of have to have that.
Were you... when it goes out, when the episodes go out, and that day, so it's going out, whatever, Friday, 9 o'clock, BBC One Northern Ireland. Like at 4 o'clock on the Friday, you could be, I don't know, in Tesco. Are you shitting yourself? Like, is the phone, is at 10:30 you go, do I go in and look?
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with something like that? Because before, you get, in the 90s, you get a ratings. You got 20% of the share. Brilliant. Yeah. They loved it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, whoa.
Yeah, there's so much more to take into account. Definitely in the first time that the pilot was going out, I was definitely, you just don't know, it could go either way. And that's the thing with TV, you spend so many months on it that you kind of lose track of. It's like you win over the producer and the director and the commissioners, or everyone's happy with it, but you are the only like group of 10 people that have seen this. And you kind of go, Jesus, what if the audience goes out and it's like they don't really like it?
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I kind of got an idea that it was going to be good was that we'd been filming the pilot, and the only thing that the editors had put together, we sent all the rushes away, was the one of me and my son in the car, and he was, a lot of people don't realise as well, that's my kids. Those 2 kids are mine, and they had to be in it because
they worked on a 0-hour contract as well.
They haven't been paid.
No. They're like, you're doing these lines, you're not getting your waffles tonight, you little prick.
But it was, they outshone me. They were brilliant. They just nailed it because it didn't feel like TV to them, because especially during the pilot, it was literally me with the iPhone, and the director was on Zoom, and he was just telling me how to frame it and stuff. But anyway, so the first thing we sent away was the sketch with me and him, and he's talking about his mum, a superhero, and I'm like, no, shit, it's about a nurse's uniform hanging up in the wardrobe. And they were like, and sending it back on, this is friggin' hilarious, everyone in the editing room's loving this. And I'm like, oh, well, good, other people are liking it. But yeah, on the night when it's going out, you kind of just sit there, and I don't go near my phone, but it starts going off and pinging with all the sort of WhatsApp groups and stuff at certain points that and the joke is coming. The worst one is there'll be ones that I'll be coming up and I go, oh Jesus, I'd be like to Kim, my wife, this is based on your dad, and I've just totally realised now your dad's, and then sure enough you see messages coming through, is this about the time I did this? Or, oh Jesus. So I first of all get roasted by my family, so by the time you've been roasted by them, no, they love it, like then you kind of go, alright, and I don't go online, but like other people will be like, people are loving it, but say, to be honest, like there's so many people online that just love taking a dislike to things. I don't really care, because see some of the biggest like stand-ups and they could do anything. It's so funny when they're coming here, like when Kevin Hart was doing stuff here. Who? Like fucking who? Who are you to say who to Kevin Hart? So it's just, I just go, I'm proud of it, I'm happy with it, and we won awards for it, so I just go,
mate,
fuck
and
it.
you've also been asked to do more.
Yeah.
That you've won. You have won, Paddy. So some guy sitting in a house on his fucking phone. Yeah. This isn't funny. Well, what have you got? What have you got? I remember Jimmy Carr once said he did a show once, and his woman came up to him after the show and she went, same as last year, absolutely disgraceful, hated it. And he was like, well, why the fuck did you come back? You're the idiot
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Like, you're the
Same
idiot.
as last
You're the
year, yeah.
idiot, not me.
Yeah.
Do you know Bridget and Eamon?
Yeah, yeah.
I loved Bridget and Eamon. Bridget and Eamon is a sketch show. Bernard Casey, all the kind of, like, a lot of Irish comics do it. And it's about a couple in the 80s in Ireland, and it's real Irish now. Mm-hmm. But I remember reading a review of it in The Guardian, and The Guardian gave it 1 star. And I went, no. This, I don't think they're looking at. They're not. This is an Irish thing.
Yeah.
It's the way the Irish husband and wife speak to each other.
Yep.
It's a way, like, they're going on about a bypass in Monasterevan, and it's about the 80s, and they go, this is not comedy. There's no feeling heart. And I goes, it's not about that.
Yep.
It's a particular Irish it's a particular thing about Irish culture.
Yep.
And I get it. And I go on YouTube sometimes and I watch Bridget and Eamon clips. I remember they were doing a bit where they were like taking in a Spanish student or a student for 6 weeks, and you get £48 a month. Take in the child. You know, like, we get £48 a month, Bridget. You know, all that kind of stuff. But the British didn't get it.
Yeah. But
they gave it 1 star and everything gets a load of shit. No. It got a lot of episodes because Irish people got it. There's people get it, these things, you know.
Jason, the director who directed my series, directed Bridget and Eamon, and he was saying, like, it's got a big following, like, around the world. Like, it's big in Australia, it's big in Europe, and big in America, and not from, like, expat communities, like actual people who have no connection to Ireland at all really sort of hone in on it. And that's one of the things I think that TV's starting to do a lot more now. Maybe Bridget and Eamon was ahead of its time, is that they don't want you to round the edges off. They call it, what is it, global? It's really shit phrase, but it's like the global things that go global, but by being local, people will come to it. If it's funny enough, they'll want to know more about that region, and they'll want to find out the wee, you know, sort of references from Bridget and Eamon or any other shows.
Like Derry Girls or something like that. Yeah.
They'll look up, you know, what's the crack with Tato Crisps? You know, like, somebody will Google that and see what's the beef there, what's going on.
Protestants' eyes are too far apart.
Yeah, and they'll be like looking on Wikipedia to see if that's true. You know, so that's what I think comedy now can be. It's not trying to be everything to everyone. It can be, and if it's funny enough, people will come to it. You know,
doesn't have to. And it needs to be universal. No, just do what you want to do, and they will come to you, rather than we going to them. Rather than appealing to the mass.
Because then you lose the heart of whatever it is you're making. All of a sudden, you're writing the things and changing things, and it loses what it was in the beginning. And people can kind of feel if you're trying to do that as well. So that's the thing. And comedy has, because it's so accessible through different mediums now, people can get to your stuff way easier than before. So, like, Netflix is starting to tank. You know, like, that whole setup is...
I've cancelled it, and they invited me back for 4... They brought it up to 12 or 15 quid or something.
Yeah.
I left, and then they went, come back, 5 quid of you dirty little bastard, you cheeky little monkey.
And then, like, what if they asked you to do a special? You'd be like, but you just cancelled last week. Like, fuck, no, hold on.
No, do you know what? There was actually a problem with the credit card billing issue. Do you know what's cost of living, mate? It's the electricity bill has gone. We'll have to sacrifice something.
Kirsty Allsop said that, you know, cancel my Netflix. And
I can't have any coffees anymore because I can't buy a house. These fucking idiots, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what was your entrance into comedy?
I started in March 2018. And
Paddy, 2018.
I know.
A fucking tour and TV series on BBC. I need to ring my fucking agent. I'm 2010. What the fuck is going on here? I've only been on telly 16 times, of which none have been in prime time, but, like, you know, a few things on the small side.
It was because I played in a wedding band for about 12 years before I did stand-up.
Yeah.
So, and I also, at the same time, I was a trainer in a call centre as well. So
you trained the call centre staff?
Yeah,
I used to work at a call centre.
Oh, which one? Up here? Or?
No, in the UK. So I started off working in NatWest Bank under the Royal Bank of Scotland Group. And I used to, like, answer the phone, you know, like, and, you know, people wanted to increase overdrafts or mortgages. Oh, it was relentless. Like, it's tough.
No, that was I trained people for loads of different campaigns, like B&Q and friggin' Vodafone, Sky. You know, so we had to train people who, you know, would be complete technophobes how to tune in their satellite channels on Sky. So it was an absolute nightmare. So I was about doing it for about 10 years as well. So I'd kind of done the two sort of core things that my stand-up ended up being, which was, a lot of it sort of in the earlier stand-up sets would have been me just with a guitar doing sort of musical jokes and parody songs and then wee stories in between. But in the early days, I wouldn't put the guitar down, you know, like for the first guts of a year, I just would have stood
That was your
behind it,
crutch. That was your defense
comfort blanket.
mechanism.
Yeah. And now it's like I can't wait to get the guitar off and put it down and be able to tell a full story. Like there's a bit that I do about being at a wedding and being asked to play the worst possible song you can ever be asked to play.
I've seen that in your stand-up.
Yeah, whenever you get asked to play the national anthem and you go, I don't know what the hell am I supposed to play here, because you didn't check the flags on the way in, and you have to do sectarian Colombo. You have to work out, sort of eyes, how close are they together, how far apart. Where do you guys, hey guys, where do you keep your toasters? Just put your hands up. But
Mass on a Sunday? No.
And the biggest laugh of that is when I say he walked back to his seat without breaking eye contact, and then I do a bit for like 30 seconds where I just keep saying national anthem and then pace the whole stage walking backwards. And like that gets a big laugh. It's just because it's visual, and then you just sit there for ages and you just rinse it out. But you can't do that if you've got a guitar on you. So like I try and condense that. But those two things, playing the guitar and training people, getting up in front of a crowd, they would be the biggest bits of nerves, I think, for anybody getting in the stand. I still get really nervous about it. But the issue of getting up in front of a crowd, if you've never done that, if you've been in a job, or if you've had jobs that you never had to do that kind of thing, standing up in front of a crowd for the first time ever with a mic would probably stop a lot of people from getting into comedy,
Oh, mate. Like, people think...
What age were you when you started doing it, and had you any experience before being on stage?
I did my first gig when I was 14.
Right.
So when I say it's a gig, I stole a load of Billy Connolly material and I performed to about 15 members of my family, and I absolutely smashed it.
There you died in your hole in front of your family. You loved it.
They were like, who is this guy? And I was just like, incontinence pants.
Did you do the accent?
No, I didn't know, but
oh, this is great.
Then a couple of weeks later I did it again and died in my arse. But I was like 17, 18. I was in school and I was an academic, and I was quite troublesome. Not troublesome in school, but I was just like...
That's me.
I was just like...
Well.
Tommy Tiernan once said, because my best friend in school was the window. Because I used to stare out the window.
Yeah.
And I totally got that.
Yeah, totally. I was exactly...
To me, it was like, I totally resonate with that.
Yeah. Did you ever do things in school, and as soon as you did it, you're doing it for a lap, and as soon as you did it, you go, why did I do that?
Oh, mate.
Because I'm getting in trouble now.
Mate.
Like serious trouble.
I could tell you some of the stuff I've said that I would actually... do you know what? This is true. Many, many years ago, I was performing at City Limits Comedy Club in Cork, and my old French teacher came in. He was actually at the gig, and he didn't realise I was a comedian, right? Because I hadn't enough press. And I'd come in, right? And I was like, "How you doing, man?" And he just looked at me, and it was that sort of like... He was totally cool. We were like chatting away. Yeah, I didn't say bonjour to him. I was like... My first thing was, are you still up there? You know the way, like in Ireland, are you still working above? Right?
Plugging away in the school.
He taught me the year after he did his year's teacher training. Oh, so imagine he was only about 25, right? Now he is 48, 50 now. Like he would have, when I was 17, he was probably only about 7 or 8 years older than me. So he's probably, say, in his late 40s now, right? He said to me, I've been up there, he says, 20 years. And to this day, 6-year French that I had with you and all the other guys is still the worst class I've ever had for trouble. And he said, every kid up there now is a doddle. He says, but he used to tell me, like, I used to walk into 6-year teachers French, walks us in 6-year French, ordinary level, past level. Like, I mean, he'd come in, he'd be like, bonjour. We'd be like, what? Like, we didn't have a fucking clue, right? And he'd come in. And we used to come in, and we said to him, right, what are we going to do now today? We used to plan what we could do to disrupt the class. Yeah. And to me, I would put more effort into disruption than I did to study it. Yeah. And I think that said there was no room for me. There was nowhere for me to go. So I did drama on a Saturday morning as my thing.
Yeah.
And then I got a bit older, and I found alcohol and women, and I didn't have any qualifications. And I did some jobs I wasn't too keen on. And in the jobs, I used to become quite creative in the jobs. I was a total messer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember there was a guy I used to work with, a lovely fella, and it was his birthday. And I said to the lads in the office, we were working in the health service in the finance department. I said, this is what we're going to do. I brought in masking tape, and I brought in poppers. You know, these, not poppers. Not poppers, Paddy. You know those
party poppers?
Party poppers, yeah, sorry, right? We brought in poppers to the health service.
You really were creative.
Margaret needs 200 millilitres of blood. Yeah, but we got poppers today. So we had these party poppers. And I said, we're going to give him the shortest birthday party ever. So the thing is, when he comes back, everyone rushes in, tape him up, candles, blow out, unwrap it, back at desk, saying nothing, pretending never. So he comes in, we taped him in, It's right, it's your birthday. Everyone say happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. All right, shut the fuck up. Right, blow the candle out. Right, party over. The party took 30 seconds. And I just sit back down and that's it.
Class.
And everyone used to laugh like, this guy's fucking crazy. But that was just what I was.
Brilliant, yeah.
Then I was 26 when I started.
Right.
And 28 was when I kind of took it seriously. And then 30 years of age is when I was able to make enough money from full time. And then I just spent 10 years on the circuit, honing the skills, learning, did a bit of TV, messed up a bit of TV because I didn't have the stagecraft, didn't have the time, you know, nerves. Nerves were a big issue for me.
Yeah.
And I only feel probably since 2017 that I've really overcome them. And now I feel I'm the best I've ever been. Now I actually feel my career starting again.
Yeah.
Like I did, I very luckily did a few nights with Jason Manford there a couple of weeks ago. Did like Vicar Street. But I remember doing opening for like Joe Lycett at the Apollo. I was like that.
Yeah.
Now Jason Manford's like, why can't I do longer?
Yeah.
The mindset is total. Now I feel I'm really upping the game.
Yeah.
Because I've done the time. I've done the craft. I've done the writing is getting, I'm enjoying writing. And I go on, like go to the Empire. People are like, oh, the Empire, you know, you've done the Empire. We've done the Empire together. It's like,
Yeah.
The Empire, oh, you know, it's a tough gig and all that. And I'm just like, fucking nothing, mate.
You love it.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
bring it.
Yeah.
I always say to Jay, can I do a bit longer? Can I do a bit longer?
But that I still haven't, and I think I'm a good while off getting to the point where that nerves thing isn't. You sort of definitely when you watch you're at home on stage.
Yeah.
You know that's your sort of domain. With me, I'm still like 'cause I only really have done 2 years up until the pandemic, and then since the pandemic, you know, I've been doing TV and haven't really. I know I've got a tour coming up in a few months, but like I haven't had that stage time, you know, to do it again and again and again. Like so I'm waiting to get to that stage. The only time I feel like I have all the time in the world and those nerves go are when I do a character on stage, like when I do Nigel on stage or Father Pat. Yeah, because you walk out and it isn't you, and it's you know. I think there's that thing as well with the audience is that when it's a character and they're going with it, they'll almost laugh at anything you say because it's like it's not a real person. This is crafted, and so this must be funny. So there's an element of, you know, you can't break that fourth wall where anything you're saying, and they're like just they're basking in the fact that you're keeping it up, if you know what I mean. Like this is a bit from you, and they're just loving that they've got a new character or somebody different on stage. So it's kind of like anything you say as Nigel or whatever, like taking the piss out of the audience. It's like they'll laugh more because it's a character. I maybe it's just because it's funnier, but the stakes kind of, or the laughter kind of tends to go up, and I feel like I could do ages at this, whereas when I'm doing my own stand-up,
you're really naked up there.
Days, it's like if somebody doesn't laugh at something, you feel like you have to explain yourself or something like that. It's like, you know, whereas characters you can just go for ages.
I start doing characters.
Yeah, just do characters. So but then if you could tell yourself that you were a character on stage, then maybe it would work. Like trick your mind into thinking. You know, so maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah.
But I think I want to kind of, now the pandemic is kind of subsided and we're not going to go back to that, you know, shite anymore. I'm looking forward to getting that time in, doing the tour, and then taking that material to go and doing more clubs and stuff. Because like I've done hardly anything on the scene, you know, and it's changed so much since before the pandemic.
Would something not interest you, like the Paddy Raff monthly comedy night, where what you would do is you would use that to MC, develop characters, and have guests on?
Yeah, you could do that.
And you could say, look, I do this thing last Sunday of every month. I have a little theatre. There's 100 seats. You know, you can say like the Paddy Raff and Friends. Yeah. And it's a playground.
Yeah,
and that's where you could then use your MCing skills and build up that stage time. What's your name? What do you do for a living? Just get into that frame of mind of being off script.
Yeah.
Like that's something, because you've got a good following, that's something that I think would really benefit you. Create your own night and a place where you can experiment with character in a live environment, and then also have a couple of stand-ups as guests, as mates, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's something that would really benefit you, because one thing I've learned from the pandemic is that I ain't doing the miles I used to do. I ain't doing that. For me now, it's about like less gigs and higher quality, rather than, whereas before it was like, just do your time, get on the time, get on the road, do the shitty gigs, do the great gigs, learn to play. Sarah Milliken always said, and I think it's a great bit of advice to any up and coming comedians: learn to play every room, learn to play stags and hens, learn to play complete silence, learn to play rowdiness, learn to play posh people, learn to play. If you can walk in and go, I know what this is, I've got the skill set for that, because I've done the years of that. I genuinely feel I could play any room. Not saying I could play it well, but my point is that it doesn't fear me. Before I used to be like, oh, they wouldn't be for me. Now it's like, bring them. I'll take them.
Yeah.
So I think something like that for you, in terms of, because the last thing you've got kids, the last thing you want to do is like, oh, I have to go to Limerick or I have to go to Dublin on a Tuesday, Wednesday night and I've got 10 minutes. You know, that's 2 hours down, 2 hours down. You have kids and childcare. You could create something, you know, where you can develop your own stage time by, you know.
You don't know my kids. I'd be glad of that.
Oh, right. How old are they?
I make that up.
How old are your kids?
They're 4 and 8.
But I suppose you're still in the mix. You're still in that. You can't leave them. You know the way when you get to the point where we can leave the kids at home on their own now.
Oh yeah, well that's
you probably still do that anyway.
In West
yeah.
Belfast, that is it.
That is like if you got a babysitter, it's like I know she's 4. She's handcuffed to the radiator. She's grand.
Herself, there's what's it's in the cupboard there.
Yeah.
No, they're a mix. They're good. No, but that's kind of why I'm not really out in the scene as much, is because I've got kids. I started doing stand up when I had 2 kids, so for me it was never about sort of a bit of a playground. Oh, I can't wait to get out there and head to all these different towns or cities or whatever. It was very much about how much can I do like really close to the house and keep it local. And then when the pandemic came, it was kind of like a blessing, because I was starting to do more and more and start to travel more, and I wasn't really sort of relishing it, because I wanted to be at home with the kids, because it's that thing of at that age they're like they're doing things and they're growing really quickly. So if you miss a week and then you come back, they've learned how to do this or do that. And you're like, oh, I wish I had taught them how to, sort of write about with no stabilizers or whatever else. So I kind of so that was what the pandemic was great for. But after 2 years of it, I'm like, let's go. we're all taking.
Let's get the hell out of the house.
So that's why I booked a massive tour.
What's your? I always ask guests who come on here for the first time, what's your relationship with like the South?
It's weird, like in that I don't, I can shift loads of tickets up north, and then you put things out down south, and it's so slow. You may as well literally be, completely anonymous down there, no profile at all.
2 hours down the road.
I know, it's so strange. It's everything. It's cultural. It's political. It's all that stuff. Physical, the travel. But yeah, I mean, like I did Liberty Hall last. It was pandemic. It was moved. It was meant to be before the pandemic, just at the very start of it. And I think I sold about 150 tickets, and that was like big for me, and that was huge. But Dublin, I think, is quite connected in a way, but everything else outside of that, like I'm doing city limits. I've never been down to Cork, never played down there.
Well, you're very welcome, Paddy. Very welcome to. This is the most beautiful part of the world.
Will you be there?
No, I don't.
That will double the crowd if you're going to be there.
Do you know what? Brian from City Limits, who is he's a gasp character.
Yeah.
He was ringing me last week. He said, Are you down? Because I'm doing the Everyman in November, and tickets are selling really well at the moment. 600 series, and I'm not going to lie, but I think I'm going to sell it out. So tickets are available actually for the Everyman in November in Cork. Okay, Paddy will plug it when he's down. When Paddy goes down, Paddy's literally just going to go, hi, I'm Paddy Raff, but I'm actually here to promote Andrew Ryan's show in the Everyman Palace Theatre. So we're just going to do Andrew Ryan.
Just
bringing in live link. He's done the drive. I'll do the gigs from the Zoom, right? So yeah, like you'll love it. Like you'll enjoy it, because it's like Cork. It's just a great city, but. I like it's weird. Like I can shift tickets in Manchester, and I can shift. When I say shift tickets, I'm not talking like I'm selling out arenas here. I'm just talking like it'd be very, very well worth my while doing the shows. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the fact that people leave their house to come and see it. I did Galway last week, and I had people that had come to see me in Galway, and I was like, I've only gigged here like 4 or 5 times, but. You'd be surprised how people look at stuff without you thinking that they're looking at stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think the more stuff you can put out online, because I've had people in Belfast stop me in the street, Cork in the North.
Oh, very
Cork
good.
in the North. And I'm like, which episode was your favourite? You know what I mean? Can I have some feedback? Please? And then you kind of go like, I like stuff like I've done gigs with Paddy McDonald, or I've been on at the Empire, and people come and go, Lavery's a couple of weeks ago, I was in there, and this guy comes and goes, can I tell you, I just want to say that I'm a really big fan of your podcast. I was like, oh, that's really nice, thanks very much. Yeah, my mate watches well. Remember that episode? Yeah. And he was reciting clips back, and I went, wow, this was me just chatting shit.
Yeah.
I just went, I'm actually on in Belfast 19th of November, so the show tickets are available. Like,
doing a hard. I'm sure he knows,
because I keep fucking saying it.
He'd be able to tell you.
But I was just like, that's the thing. But don't like the thing is with it'll come, because the thing is you're very Northern Irish, north of Ireland.
Yeah.
And you're saying that you now want to, you want to go to London more, and you want to go to Dublin and do your shows, Galway and all that. Get into the festivals, get your 20-minute set nailed.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, keep building it. They'll follow you online, they'll see your clips, they'll watch your show, boom. It just takes.
I am surprised, and I'm honoured that people like. There's probably about, I don't know, 20 tickets sold for Galway at the minute, or I'm doing Galway as well. But like, even that there's going to be a wee group of people there who are coming to see you, that's going to be class. You know, it'd be different. Obviously, if there's nobody there, you'd be fucked. Like, but the fact that there's going to be people there, and you go down, and they know you've made that trip for them, so they'll already be, you know, sort of up for the crack. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But it is that thing of culturally and everything. There's just something. Like, you know, like we just don't get it up here. The toy show, you know, like and I mean, don't get it as like we can get it, like physically watch it, but it doesn't have any cultural significance.
It's a phenomenal night in Ireland.
Yeah, and only
it's like our 12th.
Yeah, it's like only it's only like since like Twitter, and you can see people going mad for it. And you're like, what's the point?
The
like,
toy show in Ireland it's like a time when the country sits down together. It's a time. So one of the biggest shows in Ireland is the Late Late Show.
Yeah,
obviously going on from Gay Byrne and into Pat Kenny and Ryan Tubridy, and this is a show where I think it kind of, how would you say it? It's about all the goodness and fun in Ireland with children and the excitement of that time of year, and the children they're very creative, they're quite quirky, and Ireland sits down and just watches. Kids just having a laugh.
It's like doing your turn and when you like a family party and the kids get around, like, go on, do your wee thing, do your Irish dancing, or sing your song or tell that joke. You know, it's like that, but on TV, and you give them toys.
There's great heart in it.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I love about being Irish is we've got great heart when it comes to things. I say to my stand-up, I talk about Irish funerals.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking about this recently. I went to a funeral in England many, 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 many years ago. So a guy I know, his father died, and I went to the funeral. And I turned up to the funeral with another friend of ours. So me and him were all palling around. So we're like, oh, you know, John's dad died. Like, we must show our face. We must, you know, we're Irish. We've come to this thing of being go to a funeral, you pay your respects. We turned up. There's 4 people at it.
What?
4 people at it. So there's me and him, and then 4 others. So there's my friend, his 2 brothers, and one of their wives. And we were like, what? So the ceremony happened. There was no neighbours. There was no ex-work colleagues. There was no...
This wasn't during the pandemic?
No, this was 2013, 14.
Jesus.
And I remember just sitting there going, wow, this wouldn't happen in Ireland. Like,
yeah,
you know, even a small funeral is a big funeral.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa. It really kind of like hit me that a man has died. Now, okay, he may not have had, but, you know, even like the person's other family members, they didn't have their aunties or their cousins or their work colleagues. There was nobody going to kind of show like, hey, man, we know you're going through a tough time.
Yeah.
We've turned up, we've made the effort.
Yeah.
And you kind of go,
yeah,
I respect that.
There's definitely like there's so much. I suppose that heart thing is like whenever like you're a kid and your granny died or granddad died, and the amount of people that showed up, and it was like every element of society was like represented. Like my granddad used to drive lorries whenever he was, you know,
the head of the lorry union has turned up.
I mean, they would turn up and they'd be wearing their gear or whatever. Like if anybody worked any of the uniforms, I'm here because your granddad worked in blah blah blah. And I never worked with him, but such and such did, and all this here. And it's like heads of state. It's like a mini sort of like.
Micheál Martin, the Irish Taoiseach, came to my mother's funeral.
All right.
Now, Micheál Martin wasn't a Taoiseach at the time, in 2019. Michael McGrath, the Minister for Expenditure and Reform, came to my mother's funeral.
And what did your mum do? Like,
my mum was a psychiatric nurse, and she also worked. She did a lot of voluntary work for Cura, which she did a lot of work for anxiety. She did a lot of work for, you know, people who were teenage pregnancies and girls and violence and all that kind of stuff. She did a lot of stuff like that, and it was strange because like Micheál Martin is actually from he would be my TD in Cork, you know, and Simon Coveney, and so we have Cork South Central in politics. We've got 3 ministers. We've got the Prime Minister, the Foreign Affairs Minister, and we've got the Minister for Public Health and Reform. Oh yeah, like it's Cork, mate. Cork is controlling the fucking country, mate. All right,
the conspiracy. The Corkspiracy.
Yeah, the Corkspiracy, yeah. So, sorry, people don't get very passionate on a podcast, Paddy, about Cork, all right? Cork South Central, that's where you want to be. You want a road dug, that's where you want to be, right? You won't get a child place, you won't get any healthcare until that, but that's fine. You won't be able to pay for fucking petrol. But yeah, he came, and it was that Irish thing of like people make the effort, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, it just really struck me, you know, like I love London and British culture, like music and art in Britain is just phenomenal. Why do comedians go there? But I come back here and I just feel in Ireland there's a lot more heart.
Yeah.
Irish people just have a lot more to give, heart-wise.
It takes like 2 weeks from you die.
3 weeks.
3 weeks to get buried.
I do stand-up on it. You nearly forget about them.
Yeah. You couldn't do that here because you'd be out of fortune on the food and whatever.
Yeah, imagine having 3 weeks of that, on the piss for 3 weeks.
I have a bit that, I don't even know if I'm going to do it, but like whether do it as a sketch or do it in stand-up about what are Irish funerals going to be like way in the future, you know, like, so can you imagine like whenever, like in 50 years time or whatever, when someone's granddad dies and you're like the elder grandson who has to greet them at the door and they tell you then why they're here, you know, they say, I know your granddad because of blah blah blah. And I think they're only doing that as well because there's a lot of freeloaders would just come in for the food,
sandwich,
so they had to get through the checks, or you're doing a bit of bouncing. But can you imagine they come up and they shake your hand and they go, how you doing? So, how did you know my granddad? Oh, we used to play Fortnite together online. Oh yes, okay, yeah. And a wee woman coming up.
We used to bully a woman on TikTok together.
Yeah. And then another one coming up. How do you know my granddad? Grinder. Like, you grinder too? Okay. Oh, see, these don't even know Grinder is. Look at them. Don't even know you're born.
You don't even know what I was like back in the day. The old fisting. My mother did that. To explain. No.
Don't speak ill of the dead. Come on.
I'm not religious, but what am I saying is my mother was against the freeloaders. My mother was against the freeloaders. This is my mother, God rest her, and I miss her every day. But she knew she was passing away, and she designed her own funeral.
Right.
So my mother wanted her funeral early in the morning because she knew people were going to be travelling, because she's from Dundalk, and she wanted people to get home, and we were going to go across the road from the hotel to have food, and she said, I don't want the food to be announced until I'm at the graveyard, because we only wanted people to come to the graveyard to get the food, because they're the real people. They're the real grievers.
Yeah, so she's like already getting annoyed about freeloaders. And
she was already, yeah, she was already like going, I don't want. She actually said like, I'm not paying for a meal for him, even though I was like, but you're going to be. Like, she was going to be passed away, and she was like, he's not getting a fucking dinner off me.
It's how she would have wanted it.
But that's such an Irish thing, though, isn't it?
True, yeah.
Like, we turn up in our droves, but then as they turn up, you're like, what are they here for now? There's always that suspicion in Ireland, isn't there?
Look at these ones, yeah.
So many people turned up. Why did they fucking turn up, though?
As soon as there's a bit of chicken curry on, they go,
here we go.
Like, me and my wife filled in our wills recently. Have you done that? Have you ever filled in?
I have a will, yeah.
Yeah, so we were advised, like, by some legal person that we know, we're like, oh, you have to do a will. And like, oh God, I suppose you've 2 kids and all. Like, Jesus, yeah. So we were filling out the will, and like it says this will take 15 minutes. It took about 5 hours because my wife was bawling her eyes out at all the questions, because it was like, you know, if in the event that you and your wife pass away, you know, like say on a flight or whatever, your plane crashes, swear to God, it goes into scenarios and all. Which of your kids would you want? She's like crying, and she's like, and then there's this question like, does your family travel all together? And I was like, oh shit, I can see where this is going. And then she was like, I just about got her on an even keel, and she says yes, and says, in the event that you all pass away at the same time. She was like, oh, she was bawling her eyes out. But what it did was it's give her this like sort of morbid sense where like I'd be sitting in the house and she'll walk past with like a bag of like clothes, because we would like do hand-me-downs in our family, you know, so like anybody who has a kid that's a bit older than ours, they'll keep sending stuff like, he never wore this and all, and she never wore that. And she walked past with a bag of shoes, and she's like, this is a bag of shoes for a 6-year-old, because like our daughter's 4, it's like bag of shoes for a 6-year-old. Like, it's going to be in the attic in case I don't make it. You know, in case my wife doesn't make it,
let you know where all the stuff is.
She's like, make sure, like, she's going to come back and haunt me if I don't give these shoes out or whatever. So she's got like that. But even at funerals, then we were at a funeral recently and we're sitting there, and like this woman, brilliant singer, you know, Ave Maria, and all this here, and we're all sitting, like people are crying. My wife just leans over to me and she's like, see if I go, I want her.
Can you book her now?
Yeah.
You pay a deposit.
And then like at the buffet, you know, like everybody's getting a bit of chicken curry. She's like, oh, isn't that lovely? My wife's like, like, get the number. Just in case
just
I go.
In case
I go. Like my wife just thinks she's going to pass away at any moment.
I know, but I think you get to a certain, when, because I've a will, and I remember I made my will, and I've no kids, so it was like I've left everything to my nieces and nephews, everything, and I mean everybody gets everything. And then I've realised, I've go, hold on a second. My nephew hasn't texted me in a month.
I'm
just going to change the will there now. Do you know what? My other nephew, he's really making an effort. He gets the house.
Yeah. You go into your solicitor's office, like, I want to make a few changes, and it goes beep beep. You go, no, hold it. He texts me. Sorry, I forget about it. He texts me
back. Yeah, it's strange how it works, because do you ever see the ads? They're always on daytime telly. Funeral care.
Yeah.
How are you going to protect yourself? And I go, who the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, when I die, the government have to bury you somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, why are you paying all this? Why is there all this fear mongering?
Someone's going to have to clean it up.
Someone's going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, would you like to know what day and date you're going to die?
Oh, no way.
If someone said to you, you're going to die in 2079, that year, they won't tell you when, how would you feel? Do you think you would live your life differently?
Oh, definitely.
You'd be shit like, all right, I need to run 6 marathons, I want to do bungee jump, I've only got 52 years left.
Yeah. Oh, no, you definitely wouldn't want... I remember somebody asked me the question before, sitting in a call centre, like, and you come up with some really bizarre questions, but somebody asked the thing, would you like to know when your halfway point is in life, when you've reached the halfway point? And I'm like, I think I could cope with that. And I was like, but what if you ask the question, says, you've already passed yours? You're like, oh, Jesus you
Christ.
know.
I've passed mine, I think. I'm 40.
Really? Come on.
I might get in that, like... I'm slipping, mate. Like, I'm getting tired quicker. You know, like I've noticed a few things. Like, I was on holiday recently, and we were walking around for ages, and I just wouldn't mind to sit down.
We nice appreciate a sit down.
I just wouldn't mind a sit down.
Because whenever you're out, like if you went on a foreign holiday and you're with parents or something like that, and you'd be all like going along the promenade.
I have no parents, but
okay, sorry, yeah. Well, like your guardians or your carers.
Don't have any guardians. It's me. I'm on my own.
You. But then you do that thing. You be walking, then you notice, and you look, and they're having a wee sit down. You know, and you're like, but we haven't got to where we're going. Why are you sitting down? Like, we're just gonna you go ahead. So you got to that stage where I'm
at the point now where I enjoy a good sit down, not because I'm lazy or anything. Don't get me wrong. Like, I can go as hard as I can stay out till 11. Like, you want a party? Call me up. I'm 11. You know what? I'm at the point now where I go, we better go now, because the taxi's price will be a surcharge.
Yeah.
From around 12:30.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pay the surcharge. So can we leave around 11:45 to avoid that extra £3 to get me home?
But it coincides nicely with needing a sit down. You know.
Exactly. And then when I get into the cab, I'm sitting in the cab going, it's good to get home early though, isn't it? Because I don't want to ruin tomorrow either. Like,
well, whenever I hit that when I was 30, because I built a shed. I built a shed. A company, like, I spec'd it when I could have a shed at the end of the garden, and that's where I kind of do a lot of writing and stuff.
Yeah.
And I always say, without that, I would never have had a
that's your discipline
career, because that I can go down there and work and like play guitar and stuff. When I was in the band, I go down and practice and stuff. So it was really sort of good for that. But it became like a party shed where you would come and everybody would have like pre-drinks beforehand, not the sort of fisting going on. No, tying up people with poppers and fucking poppers and duct tape. But we would go and have like pre-drinks there, and then it got to the stage where very, very quickly you'd be sitting with all your mates, music be playing, and you'd be like, right, we'll book these taxis for half 9, and then you would get to 9:30, you'd be like, we'll just stay here. And then you start rationalising it. So from 9:30 till 11, when you would have been coming back to the shed early, you'd be rationalising it. But so by the time we'd have got out and all, you would have spent, how much would you all start like eking it out? No, because we'd have spent 30 quid on in taxis. We would have went from there, and the drink. No, you should have saved and drink. You're right. And now it's like we go to the shed, we know we're staying there. We don't even bother rationalising it. We just know we're not going to.
Because if you think about it, you're not missing anything. Because if you look back in your 20s and all the nights out you had in your 20s, you say, what did I actually gain?
Yeah. Weight.
I gained weight, and I gained stress over money.
Yeah.
What did I actually benefit from that night? I'm sitting there just staring at someone that I can't go at. I sit there and I go, staring at someone I don't know. You look pretty. He's good looking. I feel shit. Mm-hmm. I feel shit. Everyone's dressed up. Look at me. I want to go home. Whereas, like, when I go out now, I get really excited about, like, I go to one pub, and my favourite pub in Belfast, we're not sponsored by them, is the Spaniard.
Oh yeah, Spaniard, Skipper Street.
I go upstairs, I feel like I've gone to confession.
Yeah,
it's so religious. I walk in, I go, whatever.
Holy pictures and all.
I walk in, I go, I feel like I'm being cleansed.
It's like my
granny's I'm not even
house.
Into religion, like.
My granny's house had all exactly those religious pictures, and it's like sort of an art, or sorry, like a style, like a decor thing. But this was her front room, had all those religious pictures of Jesus and Mary and all the the wee fake candles in front of them and all.
Yeah,
like,
it's like the holy water in the door when you go in.
Yeah, you do.
So when you're going out, you're going to take your holy water now to pray for yourself so you don't get shot or killed. It's a bit fucking extreme.
I had like a thing about it where it gave me like anxiety, where if I was going out, and you know when you put your finger in and there's a wee bit of sponge with, you know, the holy water in it, they would be like soaked in, and if I ever did it and I couldn't get holy water, I like, and I was leaving her house or something, I feel like something bad was going to happen to me. But she lived in Lenadoon, so quite often that was the case.
Jesus Christ.
There's nothing to do with the holy water.
Are you religious?
No, I used to be, whenever,
same as everyone else, like, brought up into it.
Like my granny, and I talk about it, I said she was super, super religious, like really, and it used to scare me to the point where like she genuinely gave me a birthday card. I think it was about 9, and instead of sellotaping £2 coins into it, I opened it and there was a relic in it, right? An actual relic, you know, like with a brown, like it's in a wee brown pouch, and it was this brown thing, and I was like, what is this? She says, that's a bit of Padre Pio stigmata.
My mother loved Padre Pio, man.
Actual stigmata, that's like hemoglobin, I'm going to hepatitis of this thing. And I was like, I remember going to my mum like, what is granny doing? She's like just let her off. That was her thing. She had an actual Padre Pio, but she was like a Catholic hipster, where she was into Padre Pio before he became a saint. She's like,
she was well before. She was on the trends.
Well before Mother Teresa, Saint Teresa. No, Mother Teresa. I remember her as Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
She was like,
if it wasn't for me, she wouldn't have been a fucking saint.
Yeah, she was well into, and she had a thing about Padre Pio, pictures everywhere. And I remember my sister's mate came into her house one time, and she was walking out. She's like, "Oh, is that your granda?" I was like, "My granny wishes that was my granda."
Padre Pio.
And she had a big picture of Jesus, and I swear this thing must have made about 5 fucking
statues and everything, like,
you know, the statues, the whole thing in the corner dedicated to Mary, but the one on the wall, the Jesus, was one of him, and he was like praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, and it's real, like, and she used to always go every now and again, she'd nudge and she'd go, "He's awful handsome looking in that, isn't he?" It's like, Granny's got the hots for fucking Jesus here.
What's Granny doing on a Saturday night, just going to bed with a picture of Padre Pio, like, do you know what I mean? Bottle of wine and a pack of fags, and going, me and Padre, like, how are you? The things you used to do to me.
Them hands don't just have stigmata.
You know, the fucking way he grabs me. That's brilliant, man. I know, like, when are you going to Cork? When is it you're going to Cork?
Oh, it'll be October.
Right, so we've got a lot of people who watch this in Cork. Paddy is coming to the City Limits Comedy Club. We'll post all the links for Paddy's details up on the YouTube and on the Instagram and stuff. So do follow him and go and see his stuff. Go and see it. Paddy, you know, very popular up here in the north. You do fucking arenas, mate.
Not down there, though.
The last time I was in an arena, I went to get a vaccine.
Yeah, that was really
right. This guy's fucking performing it. I was doing I went to the arena today. You performing? No, get a vaccine, mate.
Literally the last gig in the SSE before the shut it down was my gig, and then the shut it down, and then next time it was open was for the vaccines, and I was in there the next time after, like, getting my vaccine. And it was so bizarre. It was one of those moments in the pandemic where you went, whoa, this is like so mad that I'm down here. And the last time I was here was they didn't have a stage with vaccines. It wasn't like the college getting your graduation.
Like, opening show today is AstraZeneca, followed by headlined by Pfizer.
But I come down to it. My wife was saying to me, she was like, "Do you reckon they'll know who you are? You know, like, will they do like, oh, come on, and like get me in backstage? Like, what are you going to do?" And I was like, "Oh, no, they won't." And I remember I stuck on. And the reason she asked me was because I stuck on this jacket that I bought, and it looked like it had a gilet on it, and I actually had these jeans and these shoes on, right? So brown shoes, jeans,
very nice. You got boss,
and a navy gilet. You know, it looked like a gilet, and I was like, why did you ask me? Thinking of who I am, she went, because you look like a culture. I was like, I don't look like a culture. She's like, it's just the gilet and stuff. And I was like, she'll be wearing a mask. So sure enough, I had the mask on. We queued up and we got right to the top. And they were doing that thing where they were trying to make people feel at home, you know, because there was a lot of people with anxiety and stuff. So they would be chatting to everybody.
How are you?
It's like, it's a nice day for it, isn't it? So I was waiting on them going, you know, oh, I'm sure the last time you were here, you didn't think the next time you know, like that kind of thing. So I got up to the top and the fella says, all right, how's it going? And I said, all right, how's it going? And he looks at my wife and he says, here, I'm sure whenever he promised you a day out in the big smoke, this wasn't what you had in mind. I was like, I'm not a fucking culture. What are you on about? I was like, this is sewn in. This isn't a gilet. And then my wife was like, I told you look like a fucking culture.
That's brilliant, man. That's stand-up.
I swear to God, no, I did. I told it whenever I got back.
That's brilliant stand-up.
Whenever I got back to the SSE then to do the rest of those gigs, I came out and I wasn't going to tell it because again with the nerves thing, I don't know where I've got my set and I've got my and I went if I feel like the crowd's feeling it, I'm going to go. And sure enough, I came out. Fucking, they were loving it. It was the first time back in a big room. They were the first gigs back on as well.
Yeah.
So I went out and I got to that bit and said, "You all get your vaccines here?" Yeah, and I was like, "Fuck it." I was like, and I told it and I killed it. Like, but it was genuinely true. And then I actually had the picture because you can do a bit more sort of bells and whistles because you've got like the projectors and stuff. And I had the picture that I took outside it and I put it up. And sure enough, there's me, big culty head on me. You know, I fucking.
That's quality, Paddy.
Yeah,
that you know what? Sometimes the material like that just writes itself.
It did. And
like...
when I got it, I was like, he's gonna go. Oh, there he is back again. Because even with the mask on, some people can still tell who I am. And and then he did it. He was like, I'm sure when he said he's taking you out for the day in the big smoke, you were thinking, fucking cultyism, that's what it is.
Oh man, it's brilliant. Paddy, thanks so much for coming in, man.
Cheers.
I really appreciate coming into Cork in the North. Ladies and gentlemen, Paddy Raff, he's on tour. So Paddy, whereabouts, you know, you're doing Belfast and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I've loads of dates. I think it's about 30 dates and I've loads up here. A lot of them are sold out already. And SSE, going to England.
The fucking pain.
I have to keep updating the poster.
Fucking pain.
It's a nightmare.
I've been sold out and I'm trying to sell tickets myself and I'm gonna
go and say to the ones at Newton Abbey.
Sold out.
I said, guys, look, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bus you all down to Cork so it looks like there's enough people there.
It would be worth just for the Instagram.
That'd actually be worth doing. Pick the closest one that was so like and then send them down there just for the Insta picture. Like you just have to say for the set. You just can all go back on the bus.
Yeah. Just for the Instagram picture. That's all it is.
The engine's still running back on the bus.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what I think you should do, Paddy? It'd be really interesting if you go down and I want you to keep a diary of your trip to Cork, and we're going to get you back on here.
And then
I want you to review Cork for me.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll do that.
We'll do it.
So you just come in, you're going to review Cork, and I'm going to hit me with it. Hit me with your 2-star reviews at a restaurant, the 4-star reviews of this, that. We'll do it.
I'll look like a haggard man. Like, let me tell you about Cork.
Anytime you walk into a shop in Cork now, the guy's just going to turn around to you and go, so you're in from the country today. Yeah? Paddy Raff, thank you so much for coming on Cork in the North. I really do appreciate it. Good to see you. Thanks for having me, man.